Members, the Lord Mayor. City of Adelaide Council meeting on Tuesday, 22nd October 2024. The Lord Mayor is in the chair. This council meeting will be streamed live and recorded for publishing to the internet. Please note that an audio and visual recording is being taken of this meeting. This means that your presence at and any contribution you make to the meeting may be collected, used, disclosed or published publicly by the Council, including transferring outside Australia.
Good evening. Council acknowledges that we are meeting on the traditional country of the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains and pays respects to elders past and present. We recognise and respect their cultural heritage, beliefs and relationship with the land. We acknowledge that they are of continuing importance to the Kaurna people living today, and we also extend that respect to other Aboriginal language groups and other First Nations people who are with us this evening. The Council acknowledges the vision of Colonel William Light in determining the site of Adelaide and the design of the city with its 6 squares and surrounding belt of continuous parklands, which is recognised on the National Heritage List as one of the greatest examples of Australia's planning heritage. We pray for wisdom, courage, empathy, understanding and guidance in the decisions that we make, while seeking and respecting the opinions of others. May we in this meeting speak honestly, listen attentively, think clearly, and decide wisely for the good governance of the City of Adelaide and the well-being of those we serve. I'll now ask all those present to stand in silence in memory of those who gave their lives in defence of their country, at sea, on land and in the air. Thank you, members, and those in the gallery. Please be seated. I now move on to our apologies and leave of absence. Councillor Giles is on leave. Councillor Ly's an apology. I'll now move to item 7, which is the confirmation of minutes. Could I ask a member to move that? Councillor Elliott moved, seconded by Councillor Noon. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. We have a request for a deputation this evening. I'm sorry, I should ask for declaration of conflicts of interest. Do we have any specifically? No? We'll move on to the deputation. Now, Miss Libby Traynor-Parker and Miss Catherine Fitzgerald wish to speak to us about the programme Vaulting Ambitions. I understand they're going to join us together. Now, if you'd like to come forward past the brass beam, which we'll open to let you in, and come up to the microphone. Thank you so much. We have 5 minutes, and if you go over a little, we might consider a little bit longer, but okay. 5 minutes, please, to address the Council.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to us today. I'm so proud to talk about Vaulting Ambitions, a program delivered at my small arts venue in the Adelaide CBD by qualified educators, experienced business owners and award-winning artists. We give creative small businesses skills to make their practice more sustainable, providing a network of support and opportunity. Many vaulters are still utilising our resources because we never stop caring and we never stop supporting. We provide a personalised, tailored program with an aim to change creators' mindset for business with the skills to back this rewiring. Vaulting has been the focus of an academic research project hosted by UniSA, conducted by Grant Hall and supervised by an international team of distinguished academics. Findings have been presented at conferences and events in Australia and the USA and will be published in 2025. Grant's paper notes that this program is unique and supportive, transformative, and makes participants much more effective both creatively and as entrepreneurs. One key conclusion of the study is that vaulting has resulted in a growing, genuine community of creatives, stimulating economic development and aiding the social sustainability and vibrancy of our city. In addition to the valuable financial and consultative support from City of Adelaide over 3 iterations, we've provided in-kind contribution of more than $40,000 in consultation time, space and services. I care deeply about what I do, and I care deeply about every creative who comes into our space. People like Jason Chong, who in 2021 had doubts about his direction, but went on to receive the coveted Reg Grundy Award, winning $50,000 in funding for a TV show idea. He's now an ABC Radio Adelaide host, which I had nothing to do with. In 2022, we supported artists like Britt Galash to apply for the Neil Curnow Award. She won and travelled overseas to develop her skills in motion capture, which no one else was doing in South Australia. She's bringing those skills back to Adelaide to train others. Prue Raymond is a fibre arts powerhouse who has since been published nationally and internationally and leading the way in yarn education. In 2023, Catherine Fitzgerald reshaped her business, offering an incredible new set of skills to enhance accessibility across Adelaide. My former Year 8 student, Kaylee Saville, is running sellout fire shows in Adelaide, bringing thousands of people into the city and generating a substantial income for locally owned and operated businesses. These are just a few examples, but every single participant is a success, and we are so proud to be part of their story. As a creative woman with physical and cognitive disability, I struggled to find my place in arts business, but encouraged by vaulting, I led by example and I challenged myself, writing sellout shows, touring interstate, winning awards for my work in women's health and publishing a commissioned book, establishing myself as an independent artist and maker. Councillors, with an established reputation for our shared program, we have constant inquiries about whether it will run again, and had there been opportunities for cultural incubation initiatives since, we would have applied. The pride in what we have accomplished can't be measured, but if we have an opportunity to work with you again, I promise you will see results, because Adelaide has the best talent in Australia and this program has a reputation for success. Thank you. I'll hand over to my colleague.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Catherine Fitzgerald and I live and work on Kaurna land. I've been a visual artist for 20 years. However, COVID drastically altered the arts landscape and I needed new skills to survive. Vaulting Ambitions was the only program that offered practical, industry-based training tailored to my needs: grant writing, digital storytelling, public speaking and accessibility best practice. I was accepted for the 2023 program, a group that included writers, poets, an opera singer, musicians, performers, playwrights, comedians, fire artists. We were artists creating work for children, teens, adults, the elderly, and the multicultural life of this city. Vaulting provided a supportive environment that held me accountable for achieving a major career milestone. I was creating the If Fabrics Could Speak project, an inclusive project with participants from 17 nationalities, including neurodiverse, mobility impaired and deaf individuals aged 4 to 92 and representing every 10 years in between. I received an Arts Unlimited grant funding a mentorship in digital storytelling with my tutor from Vaulting Ambitions, and the resulting film won the Sala Best Digital Media Award this year. Nearly 800 Thank you. Nearly 800 people saw the exhibition, which also won this year's Adelaide Best Visual Arts and Design Award. One visitor said, "These are not my stories on the wall, and yet I see my family on every wall." I've given over 25 free presentations at UniSA, Rotary clubs, high schools, art groups and craft guilds. I've spoken at symposiums on access and inclusion for national, local and rural arts organisations in 23 and 24. Artists self-fund an enormous amount of independent learning, but a project that required so many new skills of this size, complexity, Inclusive outreach and delivery would not have been possible without the training provided by Vaulting Ambitions and your support of that program. Vaulting gave me the confidence and skills to radically expand the scope of my practice and the level of community engagement I create. But I was only one of 20 artists, and this is the story of only one of those projects. Each year, your funding supports not one program, but 20 new artists, enabling them to develop skills, connect with the Adelaide City residents and other communities, and create sustainable careers. Their impact ripples out and positively impacts your community for years to come. I urge you to continue supporting this vital and unique program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
I just, while I've still got a moment, I would like to acknowledge the artists in the gallery as well, all of whom are graduates of the Vaulting Ambitions program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I sense from the floor that people would like to bring an item forward? Can I seek leave to bring forward 16.2, a show of hands? Oh, I'm so pleased that there are 8 of you, because I have to calculate 60% of 8 votes. It's 5, I've worked that out. But we're going to bring forward item 16.2, which is a motion on notice from the Deputy Lord Mayor.
May I seek your indulgence, Lord Mayor? I've personal explanation. I've had a lot of conversations with people in the room, and so I would like to put forward a varied motion. And actually, it's not actually that one that's up there, so please just bear with me. I will attempt to do this and then seek a seconder, if that's okay. So
I think you need to say what you're going to move so we can get a seconder.
Okay,
It's not the one with the red lines?
I'm moving a varied motion, an amended motion. Is that okay?
But as on the screen?
No, I would like
Okay.
to move that to part 3, and I'd like to bring back the original part 2, which I will vary. And the part 2 will read, seeks consideration of support for Expressions Media, and then through 40,000 in grant funding, through quarterly budget reviews, full stop, remove the rest of the part 2. So part 1 remains the same. Part 2 seeks consideration of support for Expressions Media through 40,000 grant funding through quarterly budget reviews. Full stop. End of part 2.
And we'll number 3, please.
And then number 3 is the red-lined one which I sent through.
Could we have 3 labelled 3? Okay, we have 3 parts to the motion. Can I ask if there's a seconder? I think it's going to lapse for want of a seconder. Councillor Siebentritt has seconded. Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll just bring up my notes. Members, I rise today to move my motion in support of Expressions Media and their Vaulting Ambitions programme. Libby and the team have provided the Vaulting Ambitions programme here within the City of Adelaide for 3 consecutive years. As you've heard from mentor Libby and artist Catherine, Vaulting Ambition provides a wide range of benefits for both the students but also for the wider city. To bring together the arts and the economy, teaching artists how to market themselves and their talents, and many other economic points as well, provides an uplift to all. We want a more beautiful, livable city, but to sustain this, artists need to be able to live, to earn, to create, to spend. Indeed, this programme has been positively recognised worldwide, and I commend Libby and the team on that. All of their sessions are held here within the City of Adelaide, bringing artists and coming exhibition and performance time, their friends, families and supporters. I myself have been fortunate to attend several sessions, and the wonderful space on Perry Street was packed to rafters on every occasion. Friends, an argument has been made that behind the scenes that Expressions Media didn't apply for funding in March of this year for the Cultural Strategic Partnerships Programme. However, this is an incorrect argument, as it is my understanding that the funding pool did not include the Incubator Funding Programme, of which Vaulting Ambitions was born. The incubator funding programme was placed into the 2024-2025 budget. However, in this time of budget repair, this programme, unfortunately, just didn't make the line. Part 2 of my motion aims to bring this back into the quarterly budget consideration, which I believe is a correct and proper way of progressing our support for this programme. However, should you not support Part 2, I hope you will, I've also included Part 3, which is to advise Expressions Media of existing grant funding pathways here at the City of Adelaide and our subsidiaries. I'm moving this motion because I believe the Vaulting Ambitions programme is worthy of our support, a programme that strengthens the bond between creatives and economics and is indeed a model that should be brought up further, not dashed at the knees. I look to your support for this motion, and with that I commend it to the Chamber. Thank you.
So I think that you're foreshadowing that we should have it in 3 parts so that people have the choice of voting for 3 if they don't wish to vote for 1 and 2. Thank you. So your seconder?
Thanks, Lord Mayor. I'll be brief. It was good to hear again about the great work that's happening with Vaulting Ambitions. And I do thank the Deputy Lord Mayor for what may appear to have been a small change, the second part of the motion here, but for me is quite significant because what it recognises that we do have an existing process around quarterly review, and there'll be various projects and initiatives that get considered, and they all need to be brought together at the same time. And clearly, this being brought together as part of that. And I expect there'll be other projects at such time that'll be considered as well. And for that reason, I'm happy to support it.
Thank you. Any other comments, Councillor Couros?
I want clarity from administration. What does it mean by 6 consideration of support of Expressions Media?
My understanding of that is it will be put into the pot when we talk about amendments at the beginning of the next quarter.
So will it be put in the pot of all the other people that have applied, or is it going to be put on its own pot?
Media have not applied, so this is outside the funding cycle and not in the face of an application.
So this could possibly impact people that have already applied for a grant. I'm just trying to understand if they haven't applied, yet the motion's been put forward in tonight's council meeting, it's going to be considered in the budget or considered for support. So I would assume that it's going to be considered standalone and not in conjunction with other people that are putting in applications for
As I
grant.
understand it, because I questioned the administration this afternoon, no application for funding has been put in.
I understand that, Lord Mayor, but I'm just saying going forward, would that mean that if we seek to consider this to support in the budget, would that mean it would impact other people that are applying for a grant, or is it going to be a standalone consideration?
Well, I think that's an ideological question because wherever the money comes from, it can't be spent on something else.
Right, so it's going to impact others.
Through the presiding member, your administration would interpret Part 2 as a direction to consider the provision of support through a budget review process outside of a grant application process.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? In that case, would you like to sum up, DLM? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I have to be really honest, I don't really know how I feel about this at this present time. And it's thrown me out in the sense that they haven't applied for any funding and yet it's brought through as a motion. And it's not the process that we have, and it's not a process that we have that is fair and equitable to everybody else that is applying for grants. And that's what it concerns me. I want to be a council that we are known, that we are fair and equitable, and that random motions are not brought into council for us to consider in a budget that we can honestly say is really tight. It's nothing against the organisation. It's nothing against what they do. I appreciate the work that they do, and listening to them tonight, it sounds like they do very wonderful things. But what I'm really concerned about is process. and we have a process which is fair and equitable to everybody, and everybody is coming and screaming for us for grants because it's tough. The industry, the arts industry is tough, and a lot of people are suffering. So I think in saying that, Lord Mayor, I will be voting against it for the sake of process and showing that I'm being fair and equitable to everybody that's applying for grants through the City of Adelaide.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Elliott.
I don't wish to repeat anything that my colleague has just mentioned, because I think we share some similar sentiments, but I'm going to be taking a slightly different approach in my voting for this. And I want to make it very, very clear that support for this motion, or my support for parts of this motion, won't be in any way based on a reflection of the intended or the proposed recipient of any funding, because I don't think that's really the point here. I share concerns about the process that has been taken to arrive at a point where we are being asked to consider funding outside of the grant process, but then also calling it a grant within the frame of it being a strategic partnership. And again, I think it's important to reflect that at no point has Council indicated that we're withdrawing our support for strategic partnerships. We maintained that. All of those budget commitments have carried through, and we've maintained our budget commitment for maintaining other strategic partnerships, new strategic partnerships. So this isn't about who's actually going to get the money. It is about the process at which we arrive to distribute that money. And we only in the last couple of months updated our grant funding process to make sure that it was fair, to make sure that it was equitable, and make sure it was transparent. And I think that this is a request that really brushes up against the intent of that policy that we only just collectively made a decision about. So it's not at all about the good work that Expressions Media does. It's not about the contributions that the graduates of Vaulting Ambitions make to Adelaide or to the city or to the community. It's about the process that we've come it's about the process that this decision has come before us outside of the grant process. And then I think that's generating a lot of discomfort amongst my colleagues and myself. So I'll indicate that I'll be voting against Part 2, but I'm very, very glad that Part 3 has now made it onto the motion.
Councillor Abrahimzadeh.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor, can I thank those who have come along into the public gallery to make that deputation. I think it's important for us to know exactly what the arts and culture industry does for us as a city and as a state. And I hope that this council now learns that by cutting the Cultural Strategic Partnerships program out of the budget and the business plan, that we have hurt an industry and we have hurt a crucial sector. So I'm glad to hear that there is some backpedaling, and I do put this on notice that I do intend to look at this closely for the next budget cycle. I'm still yet to hear other people's, other councillors' views to see whether if there is a different view on how we want to tackle this, because I do share their concern about following process, and this, to me, sets a precedent, because there are other people out there who, just like Expressions Media, do great work and do require funding. Then I guess if this is approved by this council tonight, do we need to look at other applicants, and do we need to entertain other stakeholders and other organisations that come forward and ask for funding? I'll be watching to see who supports this, because if this does go through, then I think that sends a clear message that yes, we've got a budget, but we're flexible and we're happy to entertain things even though we've adopted a budget.
And can I ask Deputy Lord Mayor if you'd like to sum up?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I appreciate the contributions of my colleagues in this debate. Just to clarify, it's not that Expressions Media did not apply for funding, and I do acknowledge that that is said in the administration comment, and I'm not seeking to have an argument with the administration on that point. But the incubator program was the funding, was the grant funding pool by which Expressions Media applied, and that was not available in March. It was hypothetically going to be available in the budget, but it was removed from the budget, which I acknowledge. So that's why I'm coming here, and I'm saying I'm not trying to shoehorn anything in or anything like that. I'm just saying part 2, when we have the next budget, quarterly budget consideration, let's have a look. Let's put it on the table and have a look at it, which is what a responsible council does. I'm not seeking to ram through your funding now. Admittedly, my initial funding did get my initial motion. The wording did imply that, but I've had sought advice from my fellow councillors, from administration, and you now got the correct terminology on the table. You know, I'm happy to meet people halfway, and that's why I'm seeking consideration in the next quarterly budget review, which is the proper mechanism by which to address this. So I do hope you will support part 2. Look, they're a wonderful group who do wonderful things. That's been very, very clear. I acknowledge it's been a tough time for the industry. It's been a tough time for council. It's been a tough time for the world, frankly. It's been a cost of living. But we need to, when there's a good programme that works, we need to support it. Thank you.
I'll put it in parts. Part 1. That's carried. Part 2. Against? Division's been called. A division's been called for part 2.
Members, a division has been called for part 2 of item 16.2. Please stand until your name has been called. Councillor Noon, Councillor Siebentreut, Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Martin.
There's an equivalence of votes, so I will have a casting vote. I agree with Councillor Kouros. It would be improper to judge this application against ones that have gone through the process. And whilst I understand what a good job Expressions Media have done, I'll be voting against this motion on the basis that we should go through the normal process. Part 3. So thank you very much, members of the gallery, and thank you for attending. So we'll move on to item 11. No, we have no petitions, by the way, so we'll go to item 11. And item 11 is just our annual report, which has now been through several iterations and has recycled to us. So can I ask Councillor Siebentreut, thank you, to move it, seconded by Councillor Kouros? Oh, just a moment, can I get a seconder? Councillor Noon has seconded it, thank you. So can we just let Councillor Siebentreut speak first before you ask your question?
Lord Mayor, I'll be brief. This not only points to the work that's been done by the City of Adelaide, but also a number of subsidiaries. So I'd just briefly like to recognise the significant work that's been done. It's been a big year. There's a lot's been happening across various organisations, from continuing to lift the service standards that we provide across our community and ratepayers, as well as a significant process in relation to infrastructure. So this is an opportunity to reflect on the job well done and say thanks again to all those across the administration who have been involved.
Councillor Kouros. Councillor Noon wishes to add to the seconding.
I just want to concur with Councillor Siebentreut and just congratulate everybody for producing such a great annual report, which I see as a brochure for the City of Adelaide. It doesn't lie. It's a great reference point, and at the end of the day, I think we should all feel really good about this document that we can talk to our community about.
Thank you, Councillor Noon. Councillor Kouros, question? Just
at the committee meeting, we had an item which was noting the consultation for the long-term financial plan.
That's further on in the agenda.
Noting the consultation?
That's part of 13.1.
Oh, it's included in that one?
Yeah.
Okay,
thank you.
That was a committee resolution, not a recommendation to council.
So, sorry, Councillor Martin.
Yeah, look, Lord Mayor, I would like to note this report, not least because I think there is a misconception in the community that the City of Adelaide is in financial strife. In fact, I was doing a radio interview recently, I think on behalf of you. I am. And the presenter put it to me that there's a bit of financial strife at the City of Adelaide, and so I had to then run through what our true financial position is. And our true financial position, considered by the Audit and Risk Committee, is at complete variance with some of the views in the community. The truth is that, far from being financially troubled in the eyes of the community, our Audit and Risk Committee has given this annual report a huge tick. And they've done that, Lord Mayor, because this is, and I am borrowing the words of a former politician and our CEO, this is a beautiful set of numbers. It describes a financial position that would be the envy of other local government areas. We have, with this report, marked a return to the days when the City of Adelaide completed its annual renewal and maintenance program instead of underspending. Capital works are almost double what they've been in recent years. We have a budget operating surplus of $9 million, and it compares with some terrible numbers in the past. And on top of all of this, we have no debt. Lord Mayor, this is a beautiful set of numbers, and I would like to personally thank the administration. It would probably embarrass them, but I'd like to go around and shake all of their hands. It is an outstanding result.
Lord Mayor, can we take it in parts?
Very happy with that, Lord Mayor.
So, unless there's any further debate, may I ask us to vote on 1 to 5 and then include 7 to 8, and we'll take 6 separately. So the first batch is everything except 6. Unless anyone wants to discuss it, all those in favour? All those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, members. We'll go on to item 6, which is the Audit and Risk Committee presiding members' annual report. Do you wish to speak against? We'll move item 6 then. All those in favour? All those against?
Division.
Division's been called.
Members' division has been called in relation to item 11, part 6. Please stand until your name has been called. Councillor Noon, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Siebentritt, Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Martin, Councillor Abrahimzadeh. Thank you.
That is carried. Thank you, members. We will move on to item 12, which is the Infrastructure Committee report. Can I ask if we might take that on block, or if there's anything I would like to debate?
As Chair, happy to move on block, Lord Mayor.
Yeah, no, I wish to ask that recommendation 3, Women's and Children's Hospital lease, is taken separately.
May we take recommendation 1, 2, 4, and 5 on block?
Yes, Lord Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Adams. Is there any debate on those items? None. I'll put that on. Those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. We'll move on to item 7.3.
Yes, I'd like to move an alternate motion, and I would ask the administration to provide some commentary. This was a matter of discussion at committee, and this complies with what I understood to be the undertaking at committee. Perhaps the administration would just refresh our memories for us.
So can I just ask if we have a seconder before we get carried away with this? Deputy Lord Mayor, so a request from the administration to clarify.
Through the presiding member, at the committee, while the recommendation originally printed was accepted by the committee, we were asked to provide an undertaking about the possibility of some refinements to the permit conditions, and in doing so we were asked to seek the advice of the Women's and Children's Hospital staff as to their acceptance of those revised conditions. Mr Harides took carriage of both the crafting of the conditions and the follow-up with Women's and Children's through the presiding member, Mr Harides.
Thank you, and through the Chair, so I can confirm, following on from the commentary from the CEO, that the amendments are supported by the Women's and Children's Hospital and primarily inconsistent with the discussion at committee. That's to provide some advice on proposals, effectively at the midpoint of the current permit term that they're seeking the extension for, so that we will understand what the options are as a council, and that will be presented to us, and then to allow sufficient time for decanting or some alternative, which is outlined in 2.2. So that the body of work can be both communicated and achieved within the extension time that the Women's and Children have sought from Council.
Thank you, Mr Harides. And just for a matter of clarity, if you recall, the report that went to the committee mentioned that there'd been discussions about moving the pods, but it just didn't end up in the recommendations, and there'd been extensive discussions that I was part of before it went to Council as well, the committee.
I'm happy for questions to be asked.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I forget, do we stand for questions? I do. I'll stand, and then it makes my pointing a little bit more dramatic. I have a question about what could be read as an inconsistency between 2 and 2.1, where we're approving the extension to 31st of December 2026, but I read 2.1 in two different ways, one being that we ask for a report by 1st of December 2025, or we ask for there to be a report that details how it will be removed by December 2025. And can I just seek some clarification as to the actual intent of 2.1 and whether there's a rewording that might make that more clear?
Does it need a comma?
I would suggest we just move the date further up into the first part of the sentence, so that provide council with a plan by no later than 1st of December 2025, detailing how the pods will be removed. And if that's the intent,
and it should be the 31st of December as well, shouldn't it?
I'm just concerned that we're saying two different dates for removal. So.
We will get clarity, because that is ambiguous. I'm sorry, I didn't get it.
Through the presiding member, the intent of the condition is that Council, through your administration, would be provided the plan regarding relocation by the 1st of December 2025, so that we're able to provide advice to the soonest possible council meeting after that date.
So can I just ask from the chair, I think the point was, should it say provide council with a plan no later than the 1st of December 25, comma, detailing?
Put a comma after public realm.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Yep.
move no later than the 1st. Would that be possible? Would that be all right, Councillor Martin? I'm sorry to edit this from the chair. To avoid any possible misunderstanding. Is that all right, Councillor Martin? I'm sorry to do this. Thank you. There's
No, you swapped it around. Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah.
The comma makes a lot of difference.
Also moving the date.
I'm moving the date. And we are happy with the 1st of December? Seek advice? Okay. Councillor Martin, sorry, please.
Oh, look, there's not much to say, Lord Mayor. I think, as will be evident to all of the elected members, this is something that you raised specifically at committee and others endorsed. It is simply the mechanism by which the elected body can be satisfied by December next year, still more than a year away until the conclusion of the lease, that there are plans in progress to give the administration the opportunity to consult with the Women's and Children's, and furthermore it avoids that pinch point perhaps of plans being made available far too late in 2026 for there to be any effective move on the matter. And as the administration has obliged with the explanation, this amendment has been run through with the Women's and Children's Hospital. They are agreed that this is acceptable, and I would have thought, and I hope, that it's non-controversial.
Mayor, even though I'm moving the motion, I rise to vote against it. I stand here today deeply disappointed with the process this council's undertaken in developing the long-term financial plan. Our very own policy clearly states that we should be consulting for 6 weeks. However, this council made the decision to reduce the period to just 21 days. As a result, we received a mere approximately 43 responses. While some may boast about the number of online hits and downloads as a sign of success, I beg to differ. This isn't a social media competition. We're talking about a critical document that outlines the financial future of our council. It deserves far more serious and considered engagement. For the past 2 years, I've consistently voted against the budget. The reason is simple. It was evident to me that we were heading towards extremely difficult times. The rush to allocate $60 million to main street upgrades without a strategy in place was reckless. Including that amount in the budget before securing external support from the government has only made things harder for us. Now we face the deferral of these projects. Some may take pride in saying that council delivered these upgrades, but the truth is that we did so without a clear plan, and this city has suffered 2 rate increases as a result. This has partially impacted our businesses, which make up 80% of our rate base. Now, I want to address, that I've heard mentioned frequently, the excuses blaming the previous council for not meeting asset ratios during COVID. This is a political farce. We all know COVID was an extraordinary event, but using it as an excuse to justify financial mismanagement is unacceptable. It seems to me that if we continued sidestepping the issues and walking this financial tightrope, the council elected in 27-28 would definitely be blaming this council for the mess they inherit. We're setting ourselves up to fail if we don't take responsibility now. If the long-term financial plan is supposed to provide us with a view of the future, then frankly, I'm worried. The assumptions in the plan rely on modest increases to cover asset renewal, but the reality is we'll have to borrow heavily. Our operational funding simply cannot sustain these needs. The net financial position is projected to rise from 21% to 61% by 27-28. That's just 3 years away. This leaves us walking, as I said, a financial tightrope, facing potential cuts to city activation projects, projected cash flow deficits, reaching our borrowing limits, and community resistance to further significant rate increases. 2 years ago, the city was debt-free, with plans for the Weir, the bridge, and Rundle U Park firmly in place. Today, I feel like we're back. Can I have some extra time, Lord Mayor?
You've got 60%.
Thank you. Today, I feel like we are back in 2018, once again asking the state and federal governments to fund the Weir and the bridge projects. The assumption built into the long-term financial plan feel more like hopes, especially when we're counting on potential election promises to extend the tram to North Adelaide. Fingers crossed that this will happen. But this is not how we should be planning the future. What we should have done over the past 2 years was to focus on securing funding well in advance, leverage partnerships, and proactively increasing revenue. We already have a policy, the Main Street Revitalisation Fund. Why don't we explore building on that? We need to diversify our revenue streams, not sit and hope for the best. In short, we missed critical opportunities and set ourselves up for not being very financially sustainable. And now we are paying the price. We must do better.
Siebentrit, and then Councillor Martin, and then Councillor Ho.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Tonight we're being asked to adopt our long-term financial plan for FY25 through to FY34. I wanted to recognise there's significant work that's gone into putting this plan together and thank the administration for what they've brought forward. The long-term financial plan is a guide for decision-making for future financial sustainability. While we set it up for 10 years, it's a document we are going to come back together as a chamber every year to look at and to review. It's also a document that's been through significant financial analysis and, importantly, it's been supported by our Audit and Risk Committee. Some of the key outcomes of this plan include an annual operating surplus position over the life of the plan. All of the key financial indicators are within target ranges except for cash flows from operations for a 3-year period. That's all of our financial indicators with a tick, but one for 3 years out of the 10. But importantly, and Councillor Couros has already pointed to some of them, the plan looks at how we deliver on some of the major outcomes. We'll look at how we're delivering on a return to the asset renewal funding ratio of 100% over an 8-year period. It's looking at how we fund significant renewals. We're talking about the Weir, the Bridge and Rundle U Park. It's also got a commitment as to how we go about investing in main streets. Now, the significant renewals that are required in the mid to long term of the plan are in accordance with the adopted asset management plans, and we do need to look at a balance between grant funding and addition to borrowings. Lord Mayor, there's been a lot of debate around the long-term financial plan, and in the short time I've had the opportunity of being in this chamber, it's been one of the most hotly debated items I think we've seen. But debating that plan, not once do I ever think we've seen any elected member, and maybe we'll hear it tonight, not once do I think I've ever seen any elected member say they don't want a commitment to our renewal and upgrade of the main streets. They don't want to renew a bridge. They don't want to renew a Weir. They don't want to renew Rundle U Park, and they don't want to get us back up to 100% asset renewal funding ratio. I haven't heard that anywhere, and I'm looking forward to, or perhaps not looking forward to it, but I'm interested to see whether we hear it tonight. Where we have spent a lot of the debate, in my view, and rightly so, is the balance between borrowings and a reliance on rates to fund this increase in investment. And that's what you'd expect we do. As a responsible chamber, you would expect that we look at the balance between rates and borrowings. And I agree we can add a third tier in there, Councillor Couros, diversifying our funding stream. It's something that we've been looking at for a number of years. Diversifying our revenue stream is certainly something it's worthwhile looking into further. But in my view, at this point in time, we have struck the right balance. And it's interesting, if we look back through the feedback that we've received through consultation, there was nowhere in the feedback where there was a strongly negative response, numerically, based on the numbers that we received. There was nowhere there was a strongly negative response. There were certain areas where there were debate, as we would expect it. Going to have a few more moments, Lord Mayor. There are certain areas of debate where we'd expect it, but there was no strongly negative feedback, which suggests to me that we're getting the balance right here. So do we go ahead now and just willy-nilly continue to spend right up to the expenditure limits that are in the long-term financial plan? Absolutely not. I would expect that every single council that comes through this chamber will heavily scrutinise the budget that goes in year on year and works out wherever possible how do we bring it in within those expenditure limits. That's what you would expect. So we're not going to go ahead and just willy-nilly head up to that target. We do have a plan, Lord Mayor, to deliver on those 3 big areas, and as I said, I'm yet to hear anywhere across our community or in the chamber any negative feedback or dissension around those targets, and I recommend the plan to the chamber.
Yes, I wonder if the administration could provide us an update on the consultation since the last meeting of committee, which was last week.
I don't remember all the numbers, but I think it went from 40-something to 73.
I'm wondering if there's been any advance.
Through the presiding member, paragraph 41 outlines the consultation results at the close of consultation on the 20th of October.
Yep.
They are the final numbers. My recollection is that we jumped from 40-odd submissions when we presented the progress report to committee to 73 plus 1.
Pretty good.
And would it be correct, through you, Lord Mayor, to suggest that the majority of respondents agreed or strongly agreed or had no opinion in regard to all of the initiatives?
Yes, I looked at my own judgment of the statistics was that it was extraordinarily supportive. As Councillor Siebentritt said, everybody wanted streets upgraded, everybody wanted investment, and they were generally supportive of an 8-year span rather than a 4-year span up to 100% renewal. So I think that it was extraordinarily supportive. I was particularly impressed not only by the downloads and the visitation numbers, which were well into the hundreds, but the fact that our Mandarin consultation paper was so popular, and I would thank the staff for making sure that that material was available.
And would I be wrong, through you, Lord Mayor, in suggesting that this is probably one of the bigger responses that this council has received in recent times to a consultation?
I think I need advice, but it's certainly fourfold more than our asset management plans.
Through the presiding member, Mr Spatalis.
Yeah, through the Lord Mayor, we don't have individual statistics for the last long-term financial plan, but in comparison to the business plan and budget for 24-25, there were significantly more visitors to the site, around 2,600, but the conversion rate of people actually making a submission was much lower, it was around 5%, whereas what we've achieved through this process is 15.6% of people who have actually visited the site. Of those 524 have actually made submissions, so we've had a higher rate of submission. The strategic plan, it's received around 1,300 visits. We received in the order of 105 submissions there for a conversion rate of submissions of around 3%. So whilst the numbers are slightly less, the number of people that actually made submissions was significantly higher.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you to the administration for providing that advice and a snapshot of what has been an extraordinarily successful consultation, and one in which our community, our stakeholders, have endorsed the economic strategy of the council in a way we haven't seen for some time. Now, I have listened to the criticisms. I listen often to the complaints that there are difficult times ahead for us. And look, the temptation is to respond in political terms, Lord Mayor, but I'm going to resist that temptation tonight. I'm going to resist that temptation. Having presented an annual report, which is a beautiful set of numbers, having produced a pathway for what I think is the economic reformation of the City of Adelaide, it doesn't really need a response. We are on the road, on the right road for responsible management of the financial affairs of the City of Adelaide. And if I said anything tonight, Lord Mayor, it would be that I would be delighted to entertain our detractors providing us with information about what alternative path there is ahead for the City of Adelaide. If there were alternatives, if there was a clear vision that was able to be understood, then I might be prepared to listen. But under the circumstances, there's nothing worth listening to.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ho.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just a heads up, Lord Mayor, I'm going to ask a question. The question might not be so polite to some people, and I make my apologies up front. I have heard, well, look, I have heard this. I have heard some really rosy word from the annual financial report, basically telling us that we are good, we are fantastic at the moment. And then over the last couple months, we spent a lot of time and put a lot of efforts in finalize the long-term financial report, which including rewriting and significant cut on our support to our community groups. There's a lot of borrowings as well, as Councillor Kuros just mentioned. If we are in such good financial positions, then why do we need to cut significantly for our community support? And no wonder 4 members tonight are able to support someone come here, move a motion, ask for another $40,000. I can tell you there were many organizations in our communities, or many community groups in our communities are desperate, need their support. And because we believe we need to fix out our budget, that's the wording you guys use a lot of time, all right? Over the last couple of months, that is the word used constantly. And if we are in such a good financial position, why should we increase our rates? Why should we cut the support for our community groups? We can always go back and tell them, hey, we are good, we have got money. Come and apply, make your grant application, or otherwise I help you to move a motion, ask council for money. So, Lord Mayor, I actually support the recommendation in the committee, and I found it very difficult to support it in council based on the comments made by one of the members, some really rosy words, and directly quoting from CEO that if our financial position could be envied by many other councils, then we should really tighten up our belts and provide more support to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there any summing up from anyone or any other comments? Please come up if there's nobody else to speak. Yes.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I guess, if you talk about visits, well, I get 100 views on my Facebook site, but I only get 5 likes, so it doesn't mean anything. So people opening up to view doesn't constitute an applause. So to answer some of these questions and directly to our chair of our committee, no, I don't want to not renew the streets. I don't not want to fix the weir and fix the bridge. What my argument is, Chair, is that we went about it the wrong way. And we have got the ability now to rectify that and to move forward in a way that we can support the community with its needs. The long-term financial plan has made it very clear to all of us that we are going to be in a pickle if we don't do something drastic now. If we don't look at diverse revenue streams, if we don't look at ways in which we can support our city and move forward. I accept what's happened over the last 2 years. I accept the decisions that has been made. I don't, do I wait for you now? Sorry. I don't agree with them, but I accept them. And just like our community has accepted them, because they do want these things as well. But they're all looking at you now, how you're going to rectify it for the future. They don't want to be in so much debt by 27, 28. They don't want to actually have to suffer the consequences of what this council is doing. And when I talk about we're on a tightrope, we really are on a tightrope. Bringing in motions for a $750,000 Wombat crossing, bringing in motion to support community groups that haven't gone through a proper process. These are 2 examples that I can think of right now that are going to impact the budget. You have no ability to bring anything new. And I'm being really genuinely honest with you at the moment. I'm not being political. You do not have the ability to bring in anything new. That is bottom line until you fix this budget.
Thank you. Vote all those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. Division has been called.
Members, a division has been called in relation to item 13.1, the adoption of the 24-25 long-term financial plan. Please stand in favour of the motion until your name is called. Councillor Noon, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Siebentritt, Deputy Lord Mayor and Councillor Martin. Thank you.
Thank you. That's carried. We'll move on to 13.2. Can I ask if someone would move that the report be noted? And I have already been speaking to
Sorry, Lord Mayor, just your microphone.
Town Hall, thank you. There have been celebrations for the 70th anniversary of the Polish Women's Association, which was a really exciting afternoon. This hard-working, tight-knit band of women have been raising funds since 1954 to support migrants and their community. They've supported those who've been ill, those who've been newly arrived, and they've been really a tower of strength to the community. They've raised probably about $500,000 in the most difficult way possible by baking and cooking. Interestingly, they gave me a gift of a cookbook published in 1996 with a foreword by Don Dunstan, which is a bit of a segue into the other celebration this week, which was the 25th anniversary of the foundation named in his honour. I had a moment to reflect on many of the good things that we promote in tourism, being a reflection of the changes in the Dunstan decade. The other celebration was the 50th anniversary of Alex Hairdressers in Lee Street. I hadn't realised until we spoke on Saturday that he started his business in Guja Street and was there for 4 years until he moved up to Lee Street. Now, many of you would know he came in the 60s, came from Puglia, and has been a stalwart in the street and a friend to many ever since. I also went to the Adelaide Fashion Week Icons luncheon at the Crown Plaza with Po Ling Yo and Heather Kroll, and I have to say that the whole festival was a well-curated and rather exciting few weeks in the mall and around our fashion icons as well. While that festival is over, there's plenty still going on in the city. We're about to enter our major pre-Christmas festival season, but I also went to Cheese Fest, which is now in its 19th year in the East End, and I would just commend to you the notion of having an event or a festival that only occupies the daytime, because it means the people who enjoy it can go out and spend money and attend bars and cafes and restaurants when the event closes, as this one did, at either 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock on various days. Many of you also joined in and went to the swing in the Victoria Square, and it's still there, and I commend it to you if you are passing. I should also just point out that there's an opportunity to join an exciting management board. You have until November the 1st to put in a nomination as a local government representative for 3 years on the Dog and Cat Management Board, which is an exciting operation and will give you many opportunities to visit other council areas. So could someone move, thank you, Councillor New, seconded by Deputy Lord Mayor, the receipt of my report. Councillors' reports. I'm sorry? That was all those in favour? All those against, thank you. Councillors' reports next. Does anyone wish to comment? Councillor Noon.
I represented the Lord Mayor at the unveiling of the second Ramsay Art Boat, along with a few of the council team that are in the gallery. It was absolutely fantastic, really bad weather day, but when the Popeye came down the river, it was so colourful, brightened up our day, and when it turned around in front of the marquee, we saw an amazing skyline of the city of Adelaide, and on the side was the ecosystem of the riverbank. So it was a wonderful event, even though it was the weather was a bit challenging. Also, I represented the Lord Mayor at the SA Golf Industry Annual Awards, and that was an amazing night. So it certainly, I mean, there's no way that you can actually say that it's for retired gentlemen anymore. The awards were very diverse, and there was young people, there were women, there were all cultures, and it was a really great night of diversity for and showcasing the actual sport. Thank you. Look, first of all, I want to actually say that this is not a systemic... Oh, wait a minute, I need a second. This is not a systemic issue, But I would like to draw attention to point 4 of the administration comment that actually said that they do not have on record at this time any council within this council term community consultation that has occurred over a council meeting or a committee meeting. I do have to say that was incorrect, and one of the reasons why I put this motion up, it was on the 24th of September. There was a community consultation on the Light Square master plan, and I had actually informed so many people in the area that this was happening. I did not know that it was the date at the time, and then when I actually saw that the date was scheduled on a council meeting, 6 to 7, right in the middle of a council meeting, I was really disappointed, and a lot of people commented to me afterwards asking me where I was. Another recent one was actually the opening night of the Fashion Week, where we were all invited, and it was a mandatory training evening. Now, look, I recognise that, again, this is not a systemic issue, but, you know, we fund, it is one of our authorities that organised the, the opening night of the Fashion Week. The community expects to see us at these events. We get mandatory training nights, and council meetings take priority, absolutely. I would never go to anything that I was invited to if I had, if these council meetings, committee meetings, briefings, mandatory training nights, I've almost got a perfect record in attendance. But at the end of the day, I think that we cannot control what happens outside the council, but we should be able to control what happens within the council and our authorities. So this is just sort of going, okay, and it's actually point 5 of the administration comment does actually support my motion, because the administration and the City of Adelaide subsidiaries will work together to ensure that any activities organised where council members are encouraged to attend in their role as council member do not conflict with council member mandatory commitments. And so basically this is to ensure that that never happens, and that it is to highlight the importance of our role as councillors, the expectations of our community to be at these public consultations or even opening nights that may not be that important to some people, but we made a decision to actually fund that particular one, so it was terrible that none of us were able to be there. That's all I have to say, and I just hope that I'm supported in this.
Thank you, Councillor Noon. That was your seconder. Reserve the right, Councillor Kouros.
I have to ask, Lord Mayor, we rely on administration comments to be precise and correct. In point 4, you said there's no record, but Councillor Noon just said that she says that there is. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying, why is that not recorded into the comment?
That's beyond my capacity to answer. I'm not sure whether that would be Mr. Haridas. Who can you advise me, Mr. Sedgman?
Through the presiding member, I'll take Councillor Noon's comment as stated, and I will verify the accuracy of the conflict.
It's very hard to know how to vote for it, because we rely on the recommendation to be accurate enough for us to make a decision.
If I could just help you, Councillor Kouros, I think it's not a prescription. It's very carefully worded, this motion. It says, where possible, any...
Disputing the motion, Lord Mayor, I'm just mainly making a comment that we rely on administration's comments to make decision. If I look at it for what it actually is, if I'm reading this, I would go, okay, well, does not affect the council, no record, and I would vote no. But in saying that,
point of order, Lord Mayor. Look, it is against the behavioural code to be questioning the administration in this manner publicly. The CEO has given a response. That should be the end of the matter.
The date, so I think that we just have to take the question on notice. Unless the...
Oh, well, then it's very...
Through the presiding member, Councillor Noon has furnished an invitation to the community on a City of Adelaide letterhead to a community information session that was held on Tuesday the 24th of September regarding the Light Square master plan consultation. So it would appear there was a community information session that clashed with the council meeting on that night. It was a community information session.
So it's where you perceive the wording. It's an information session. So Councillor Noon did have a clash, but the wording is community consultation. I don't know if that makes the difference, does it? It's a technicality. It was a community consultation. I don't think we can drill down into this anymore. I think you have to vote for it or against it. Councillor Abrahimzadeh.
Lord Mayor,
I can see you've got your bag ready.
I do, because I question whether if this should even be a motion for us to entertain in this chamber. I just wonder whether if a simple conversation should have taken place between a concerned elected member and the CEO, so that we don't have to sit here and talk about this.
Let's not reflect on the other councillors' behaviour. So shall we just vote on this and move on, because we're not going to get any further with this. So we'll take it all together, both parts together. Unless there's any summing up, all those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on. Motions without notice. There are none. We have questions on notice which are tabled. Questions without notice. We have none. I'd like to exclude the public now, so I'm going to ask a member to move item 19, which is to have reports contained within sections 21 and 22 on the agenda. I'm sorry? Sorry, 21. Order to exclude item 21. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. And we also have 22, item to exclude for 22. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you, members. So we'll now move on. When we've